Hello, and welcome back to the Lithuanian Dream Podcast. My name is Sean Donovan, and every 2 weeks I'll be joining the podcast to look over the news and numbers in Lithuanian business. It's October 21st, 2020. Let's get started. According to the International Monetary Fund, Lithuania's economic contraction this year will be one of the smallest in Europe. However, Vitas Vasiliauskas, the chief of the Bank of Lithuania, still is urging caution, saying in a press release that, quote, even though the latest forecasts are less gloomy than they were at the beginning of the pandemic, the road to recovery will be long and bumpy. It is important not to stop economic stimulus prematurely. However, we have to do it responsibly and direct funds towards measures for sustainable long-term growth, such as digitization of the economy and the green course, unquote. On a more worrying note, COVID-19 cases are increasing rapidly in Lithuania. Lithuanian health authorities have confirmed 480 new cases over the weekend of October 17th and 18th. Lithuania's total count of coronavirus infections now stands at 7,521. However, in comparison with other major countries, Lithuanian statistics remain relatively low. Since the pandemic has begun, 113 people have died of COVID-19, and 35 people infected with the virus have died of other causes. And now for some news about Lithuanian e-commerce. As today, we will be releasing the interview with the co-founder of Lithuanian e-commerce platform, Vinted. In 2020, e-commerce has seen a major boost in the country, with 60% of Lithuanians completing their shopping online. The Luminor Bank, which has analyzed customer payment flows, suggests that cash payments fell 30% overall in the Baltic states during the quarantine, while online commerce grew by about 80%. Similar trends have been seen in other EU countries, with UK e-commerce spending up 11% year over year, while online grocery shopping has seen a 10% increase amongst Europeans living in urban areas. Overall, 27% of European consumers say they will increase their online shopping expenses permanently following the pandemic. And that is our October 21st, 2020 episode. For a full downloadable report, please go to our website, lithuaniandream.com. Our report was prepared using information provided by the major Lithuanian news outlets, including Lithuanian National Broadcaster LRT, as well as Lithuanian business groups, including Startup Lithuania, Enterprise Lithuania, and the Bank of Lithuania. I'll be back with the news on the 4th of November. Thanks for listening. This was Sean Donovan with the Lithuanian Dream Podcast. And now, passing to you, Ruta, for an interview with the founder of Vinted, Milda Mitkute.
Everything happened very accidentally because I was moving from Kaunas, from my native town, to Vilnius, to the capital. I was invited to the housewarming party where I met Justas. Actually, we are together founders at the moment. So he was a developer. I explained to him about the idea maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. And I said, I want to do this. And he said, so let's do it together.
Hello and welcome. This is Ruta Naujokaite, and you're listening to Lithuanian Dream Podcast, a podcast exploring ideas about contemporary Lithuania.
Today, we will be speaking with Milda Mitkute. She's a co-founder of the one and only Lithuanian unicorn. Now, they're one of the biggest sustainable fashion companies around the world. We're going to speak about her journey as an entrepreneur, her new passions, including being a mom, a new idea she has for environment and education. Hi, Milda. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
To start with, could you briefly tell us what led you to co-founding a company?
First of all, I think it was personal need because I was very addictive to fashion, to new items, and I used to spend maybe about 80% of my salary on clothing. So this is how I ended up with full closet, lots of stuff, some of them still with labels or some worn once, maybe maximum twice. So this is how I started to think like maybe there should be opportunity to swap with other girls, to swap my clothing and to take back something from their closet. So this is how the idea was born.
How did you manage to implement it? Did you start going to people and asking, hey guys, is this idea valid? Or already start looking for a tech person who would help you to build the platform? What was the next step?
Everything happened very accidentally because I was moving from Kaunas, from my native town, to Vilnius, to the capital. I was invited to the housewarming party where I met Justas. Actually, we are together founders at the moment. So he was a developer. I explained to him about the idea about maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. And I said, I want to do this. And he said, so let's do it together. I didn't have any plan at the beginning. There were like lots of small steps happening randomly.
Yeah, so I participated last year. Actually, Justus came to Berlin, where I'm based, and he was telling about the story, how you created Vinted. And he was saying that he himself, as a tech person and a guy, he was quite skeptical about the idea. But then when the numbers showed up, you started investing more and more time. And could you tell us about that moment when you understood that this is like something quite serious?
Maybe 2-3 years ago, like later than after Vinted was launched. So there are many moments then we discovered it might be something huge. At the beginning, maybe it was the day that Vinted was born, because it was the first email that I wrote to my friends and asked, like, sorry guys, we don't have any money, but we have a very good idea. And could you spread this kind of word of mouth to your friends? And the message spread instantly, like in 1 or 2 hours. The message went viral in the whole Lithuania. Many radio stations started to call us, ask for interview. The biggest news portals started to write about us. And numbers started to increase instantly. But I think that the biggest realization came 2-3 years later. Then big businesses started to call us and said, we would like to buy you. And we usually said, oh, we are not interested. And then they come back anyway and they say, okay, we still want to buy you. We can give you a higher price. And it was, maybe it's really something big. And finally, we met one guy, Mantas. He was our first business angel. So he called us and said, guys, you do something amazing. And I don't know what you're doing there, but I would like to join. And he said, like, I'm not sure if you see how big it can be in the future, but he said that I believe it can be big. And then it was even real first time. Then we started to think about, maybe we can go global and maybe it can be, business, not only a hobby project.
So where did you invest your efforts and money then? How do you grow e-commerce nowadays to the scale of becoming a unicorn, the first unicorn of Lithuania?
It was a very long trip because now it's 12 or maybe 13 years counting for Vinted. And at the beginning, it was actually like self-funded and we didn't have any much money, but we didn't need much money actually. So it was just servers that cost us the main costs. And then that was all because we were volunteers for the first 3 years. So we didn't pay any money for ourselves. And then actually 3 years later, then we started to scale, to do lots of experiments. So then we were funded as a project, so like as a startup. This is how we started to grow. But of course, you might say it's about money, but actually it's not about money. It's more about enthusiasm or maybe passion to try and passion to see or curiosity to try if that might work or how does it work. And so this is how we scaled.
How did you maintain your passion for the 3 years? Was there a philosophy? Is there a philosophy behind Vinted? I guess it's not just selling your clothes, it's sustainability.
No, Vinted wasn't born as just to sell clothing. For me, it was a hobby project. And for me, it was not only where to spend some free time, but it was also more for how can I build myself and how can grow as a professional? But on the other side, there was more, I wouldn't say sustainability idea. I was a little bit concerned about consumption, about how I consume, how much I consume. And I expected that I shouldn't be alone here. I think that at that time I thought, and I think I was right, that I'm not the only one having issue with sale addiction. And I thought that it would be nice to have friendlier way to consume because in our society, I think it's very difficult to say, stop consuming, stop buying second dress because you have one. But I was always looking for the second way, friendlier way to consume, but in a more sustainable manner. And at the moment, Vinted mission, I'm not sure if you know, but it sounds like make secondhand as a first choice worldwide. So what does it mean to us? So we want to, every time each person thinks about, I want shoes or I want dress or I want baby stroller. So they first of all think about, I want to buy from other people, not from shop, but from other people. So this is our mission.
Yeah, it sort of comes back to the saying reduce, reuse, recycle. So you're really helping people to exchange or like get something from other people instead of investing into new things and then just...
That's also part of the community because like you buy things with a story. So it's like, for me, it sounds more natural or maybe it's more cozy. I don't say that shops are bad because I don't say that. And because I also buy from shops. But buying from other people, buying from other members, it has something about connection because you connect with other people, you talk with them, and you enter the closet and you take something from there and you ship to your closet. So it's like, something private thing. So, well, it's cozy.
Yeah, it's like you get a little bit of the history. It becomes like a unique item in itself. What do you think about current trend of huge clothing companies like H&M, like, I don't know, here in Germany, Zalando, who are starting their own initiatives of sustainable fashion or initiatives of if you bring your old clothes, then you get discounts? And do you think it's greenwashing or it's something that the industry, fashion industry, is moving towards because they start thinking that, first of all, it is not good for our earth. Second of all, it may be even cheaper to reuse the fabrics and to actually integrate sustainability in their models.
Or the third option that I believe the most, that consumer requires to do that. Like, I think that there is no other way because I think that in the nearest future, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15 years, every company will be responsible for the outcomes that they make for the environment. And myself, I'm using this service all the time. Like I go to H&M, and if I have like some things that like, I cannot sell anymore. So I go to H&M and I recycle. And my husband sometimes says like, he sometimes has this belief about like eco things because he says, if I don't know how the process works, for me, it's very difficult to believe. And for me, I want to believe that it's happening. And I'm not familiar. I don't know the situation, so I don't know how it looks like. I just very happy to have this opportunity to recycle and to consume in a much friendlier way. But anyways, getting back to the topic, so I think that it will be the future. And it will be not nice to have. It will not be a PR thing. Maybe now maybe it is a PR thing or something. But I think in the future, it will be one or the other way. It will be a must thing, not nice to have, but must have. So this is very good direction.
So what do you think made you to stay with the idea for so many years? You started 12, 13 years ago. Now you are on maternity leave, but still you are co-founder of Vinted. So what was your internal motivation to stay and wait till the company will flourish? You didn't sell it for the first company that asked you to sell it. What was your internal motivation?
It depends on the stage because there were different motivations. At the beginning, it was the first 3 years, it was like, it's a very nice playground to grow as a professional. So, okay, you can offer some money, but playing and experimenting as a professional was more important for me. And it was very nice because I saw growing numbers and I started to meet people and I saw members. And members were so happy and they said, okay, we want to help you to create better Vinted. And it was like, kind of community was born. And, like it's to give up like for some money. It didn't look like a solution. So I even didn't think actually about this. And you know that you always can do better. And you see many, many ways where you can create. And it was like the platform. It is a platform where you can, have many good, insane ideas. And you know that you can implement them here. And you know that it's kind of like a virus that it spreads all around the world. And every time we get emails or messages from other members saying that, oh my God, it changed my life. I'm so happy. And I don't know how to use other things anymore. So it's like, that feedback helps to move forward and you know that you're doing something good. And now it's even more important because then everyone starts to speak about climate change, that is like a huge problem. And you know that, okay, so with this movement, with this business, you can contribute to better and nicer world. I don't say that will be enough because there are still many things to improve, but this is like a step forward. You think about, okay, we already create something that saves some energy and it helps for the environment. So I think it's a motivation enough to stay and to try to do even better.
So you mentioned forums and community building as a tool for Vinted and sort of sustaining the motivation and creating community, which people don't want to leave and they just want to stay there. How did you make it? What do you think are the perfect ingredients for community-based sort of businesses that focus on that?
I think that there were many things, but one of them main criteria would be like we gathered people with very similar passion and passion about fashion. And then people come together and they suffer from the same problems that like I did. So I am also part of the community, and you can share your issues, you can share your challenges, and everyone understands you. And they also are looking for some other ways how to consume less, let's say. Just like this is the community with very similar interests. Also, I think that it's better sometimes to connect online comparing offline communities, because online you can meet even much more fellows and you can talk with even more people. So because you know that you're coming and you're not alone with your thoughts and addictions.
And do you think there's a difference between these communities around the world? Because you sort of had a few different approaches, I think, like in Germany, there is even different name for Vinted. And in Lithuania, the forums, I guess, was in Lithuanian. So did you try to merge them somehow? Or they were like separate communities for different markets?
At the moment, it's separate communities. And in Lithuania, there's a Lithuanian forum. But then we say community, most of the people think about forum, but it's not about forum, because forum is just a small part of the communication and a small part of the community. I think that the most important feeling of belonging to community comes from communication with members and you want to buy something. Because I'm not very active in forums, but I still feel part of the community. And for me, people who sign up there at Vinted and who sell their clothing or buy the clothing, this is for me, this is the community. And I don't necessarily think about, then you said forum? So yes, okay, forum, but for me, it would be secondary thing. For me, it's the whole member base, this is the community. Those million members, they are part of the community. And maybe 80% of them, they are still not active on forums, but they still connected and they still belong together.
Yeah, so that exchange between the members strengthens the group identity in a sense, right? So do you think people are motivated to sort of sell the clothes with the story? Or for some of them, it's more about the purchase? Or what kind of trends did you see? Do people actually try to make it, show it in the best light and really start a connection with the people who buy the clothing or the other items?
Like in real life, society is diverse. So there are many different people. So the same here at Vinted. So there are lots of different people with different attitudes, with different reasons why they joined. So I think that it's like a small city with different people. So I think it's both, because we also do some researches time to time, and we see that people see motivation to have some space in the closet, to earn some money, to feel more sustainable because they consume in a much friendlier manner and prolong the cycle of the item. So it's a combination of everything, and it would be very difficult to choose one reason, and even one person might have all those reasons in one.
Okay, so we already now talked about Vinted itself, and now I would like to move towards more about you as a founder and as a female founder. I think this is a very important topic in Lithuania because unfortunately we don't have that many women founders. And you got quite a few awards and recognitions for being one of the strongest founders in Lithuania. What do you think is needed in the Lithuanian business sky for us to have more females in business, not just men?
Difficult question, because every time I still don't feel I have my own opinion about this. So every time I might give different answers because I don't have my own position yet. But at the moment, what I see is, so speaking about this, empowering, I think that, it's very important, but I still believe that it's also more nice to have thing. And I think that we still see generation change. And I think that like maybe in the 5, maybe 10, maybe 15 next 10 years, we're going to see much more women in business, because what we see now, like that we have not so many women in business is the outcome what happened 20 years ago, because this is like our generation was born and it grew up and so on. So it takes time. And I think the attitude to women in business is changing. I at least don't see any discrimination here. I never faced with that. So the society becomes more and more open, more welcoming. So I think that also becomes more and more oriented to the result and not to the gender, because it's less bureaucracy and more moving to let's talk about the result, not about the process. So if women do the same result as good as men, so there's no choice. So I think then generations are changing. I think that we're going to see more and more women in business, I think in politics as well, because, well, the attitude, the new young girls that at the moment that they're growing, they see this opposite trend that, doesn't matter men or women or girl or boy, you can do whatever you want. So I think that it's it's postponed metrics that we see. And so 20 years ago, it wasn't that okay, it was still woman, home, kids. It was more related together, like one image, and not bucket in business. Now I think it's much more open-minded, and we're going to see a big increase in women in business.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sometimes when I listen to talks and podcasts, there's really good podcast, Harvard Business Review, about women at work. And they discuss different issues based on numbers, because numbers show that, the salaries are different in any country, not just Lithuania. In Germany, I think just 11% of founders are women as well. So there are a lot of different things to discover. And myself, I sometimes feel okay, I don't fit in that picture as well, because I would be the person asking a lot of questions, being outspoken and things like that. And I feel that you are the same. So you were a person who decided to co-found a company that goes a bit against the idea of, women being weak and all that stuff that we're trying to combat. So it didn't happen just like that. I believe that in childhood or 20 years ago, somebody inspired you or shaped you into the person who you are now. So what do you think are the factors or the things that we should include in our education or, growing the new generation of diverse society that could co-found the companies, doesn't matter gender or, nationality and all these things?
If I understand right, you are asking about what kind of skills or what kind of the attitudes we should implement, right?
Yes. What shaped you and what do you think we can learn from that? What made you believe in yourself and be strong enough to say, hey guys, we're starting the company. So what kind of values do you think really helped you in this journey?
For me, it's good and bad things. So it's a pretty emotional person. And sometimes if I'm think about some new idea, so I can be oh my God, let's do it. And I think that helps a lot. Maybe it's not that good, and you start to think about great strategy or something because you want to move fast and, just to move fast, break things, move fast. But this is, again, diversity. Then you meet with other people who are a little bit more calm. On the other hand, you are more emotional, then you connect. So you get a very good balance because both sides are needed. And speaking about the attitude that I would think is very needed for the future, so it's respect different opinions or different ways of achieving things. Because I think that anyway, you can go straight and you're going to reach as well. So what I see, there is more and more tolerance to different ways to achieve the result. And before it was maybe one or the other way and strict one, and you cannot go out of the way and just experiment how you want. And now I think that society is becoming more and more tolerant and more open-minded and respectful to people who think differently. And I think it helps for people who think differently or also to different genders because you start to hear other people. And I think it's very important for the future to listen to other people and respect their opinion. And diverse team happens. And then I always believe that the diverse teams and companies, they're much stronger than one-way thinking companies. So I think that maybe respect to other opinions, I would say, would be the most important thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because actually looking for the history, the countries who encouraged differences or invited people to come and work in their countries and encouraged innovation and different opinions flourished. Like, Lithuania as well with Vytautas inviting different communities to live in Lithuania. Then the country flourished, like different, religions, different genders, all these things. So it's very important that we would create this kind of society now as well, because otherwise I don't know how many unicorns we can expect.
Yeah, true.
So what kind of projects are you working now? Are you thinking about coming back to Vinted, or you as well like working on social projects, or what are your passions now?
It's a very wide topic because, on a very wide sense, I am on a project of 4 kids in a row. So now I have 3 kids because 4 years I left Vinted for just said that, okay, maybe it's time for the family. So our plan is 4 kids. So 3 are like here, 1 is left. And so this is like maybe the second big project after Vinted. Afterwards, I'm not sure what I'm going to do because I see areas that I would like to create something more, but maybe it's too early to say because, I don't know exactly where I'm gonna end up. So, but I see topics that I'm very interested. So it's climate change, also artificial intelligence and education. So those 3 topics for me, maybe I would say it takes most of my time after kids because I read a lot and I'm talking with many people and trying to understand what's happening in the market and in the world about this. And somehow I believe that sooner or later it will end up with, I'm not thinking about business, but because I'm not thinking about business at the moment, I don't know. So maybe I will end up somewhere in those 3 areas, not sure where. But at least I know that at this point of my life, I'm very interested in these fields.
Wow. So you basically already accomplished of starting Unicorn, the first unicorn in Lithuania. Now you're working on having 4 kids. So this is a great goal to have. So how did you manage to, when was the decision? Because a lot of times people say you need to choose between the family or career. But for you sort of managed to balance it out as well. Was it a difficult choice to say to yourself, now I want to have kids?
It wasn't easy because, I knew that if I leave not for 1 kid. So I knew that it's going to be longer holidays, as it is called in Lithuania. So I knew that it might be goodbye. And I think I knew that it will be goodbye with Vinted for me because I said, okay, 4 kids, so it means it's 5 years out, I think. And also it's I had an internal feeling that, okay, maybe it's time for some new things in my life. So it wasn't an easy decision. And because I really enjoyed what was happening there. But I also knew that, okay, now or never, or 4 kids in a row. So it's also a big project. And personally, what I noticed, I like to focus 200% of myself. So before it was Vinted, not 200, it was maybe 500%. Now is the stage where I focus on maternity things, 4 kids in a row. So it's 60% of my time, 70% of my time is there. And maybe next project after kids, it will be something else. But, I like full dedication. And for me, it helps me to reach the best results. I believe in that you can combine maternity and professional life, especially if, with small kids and maybe with such ambitious plan like mine, 4 kids in a row, maybe it would be too difficult. And that's why I don't even want to try to connect them together. But in the future, if you have bigger kids, so combination of professional life, active professional life, and active maternity, I think it's very manageable. It's really possible. So it depends on time management skills, on your attitude, on your openness to ask for help. So I think it's many ways to combine everything together.
So is it having 4 kids or wanting to have 4 kids? Is it the reason why you now are interested in education, or where did it came from?
Yeah, it came from there because I realized that, okay, I don't want my kids to be part of this education system. And I started to see very good signs. Like we still, in Vilnius, we have very good educational companies, unfortunately private ones. But I think that it should be at much bigger scale. And in 10, okay, maybe in 20 years, AI will change everything. And what kind of education will be needed there? So this is like what's forced me to think more about this topic. And actually, it's a very interesting topic. So it's because I feel that I might make a huge impact here. So if I put my energy, and because it's like an area that needs big changes, don't know yet what exact changes because there are so many options, so many ways, and no one knows what will happen in 20 years for sure. So it's like a huge unknown cloud, because you don't know what will happen. But it's challenging and inspiring.
So what things still needs to be changed in Lithuania? What kind of priorities do you see for education to become better?
I think that Estonia might be a very good example of what they did with the education system in general. So we might turn to politics, and I think maybe it's not that worth, but anyway, just shortly, I would say that it is very important to find good teachers and to give them power and authority. And at the moment, we still are in the system where teacher just follows the program, and the teacher cannot be spontaneous and to rethink about the structure, how he or she teaches people, kids particularly. So I think that the respect and ownership for teachers is very important. The second thing, kindergarten stage, kids, they might do a lot of things, and for them, it's very easy to learn new skills. And at the moment, this area is very weak for us. In Estonia, they have the whole system, how to empower kids while they're very small. Also, our system is based on, most of the systems in Europe is based on you need to learn by heart, and not about being creative, not about strategic thinking. It's more about, you need to know this fact, and this fact. And I think that maybe everything should be focused on open questions. We have lots of unknown and how to deal with that, and how to become creative, how to become curious, and not to kill that curiosity by giving facts what you need to learn by heart. And in general, teaching kids should be fun. For kids should be fun, and not, sitting at a table and waiting for instructions to give and to follow instructions. So I think that the new educational system should focus not on followers, but on creators. So it's just very short.
Yeah, especially people from Waldorf schools. One of my workmates actually is from Waldorf school, and I can already see a completely different mentality. And the way he understands things, and the community as well, is so important.
And the ownership, feeling, no responsibility feeling. I think it's very important that you need to take care of your action, take care of the responsibility of your actions. Because if you follow instructions, so it means someone gives you instructions and someone is responsible for that. And on the other side, if you get problem and you decide on yourself how to deal with that, you are responsible for that because you made that decision. So I think it's a big topic, and you can know where you're going to point. You're going to see lots of smaller topics to discover.
Yeah, especially in the post-Soviet Union countries, I think that the social responsibility is very important because before, there were certain orders, and 30 years ago we became free, and now we have ownership and we can travel, do whatever we say we want to. And this is a huge mentality shift. And hopefully our education system as well will change towards a more Scandinavian or Estonian.
But it's not only Lithuanian thing. I think it's the whole Europe thing. But some companies are lagging more, like maybe ours. But I think the similar situation is everywhere because in 20 years everything will be totally different, and we need to adapt. No one knows how, and I imagine it's very big. It's a very big challenge because no one knows how to do that and what to do. So.
Do you think COVID-19 crisis as well really fostered this shift? Because now everything is going online and some schools will be online.
I think it's a very good step. And I think at schools, they needed this, this shake to shake the way they live. I think that it might cause lots of negative things. As you know, like in Lithuania, many teachers left their job because they don't know how to do lessons remote. But on the other hand, it's not the worst thing because you cannot be happy with status quo because the future is maybe remote or maybe more, I would say, interactive teaching. And some teachers, they're not that prepared for that. So maybe it's okay. It's natural change because new teachers will come and the ones who have better skills for online learning, teaching, and who believe that teacher is a friend, not the person above. So I think it's such crises, they're very good because they shake the situations, they shake the status quo, and they encourage to improve and to innovate, to discover new things.
Yes, and hopefully this school year that starts soon in Lithuania will bring some great tests that can be learned from and implemented in the future. And yeah, it's very interesting. Maybe actually we will see you making another unicorn, but now in EdTech.
Unicorn was never a goal. So it's just the outcome that happened, but we are going on our way. And by accident, well, not by accident, but because of hard work, it happened unicorn, but actually it wasn't our goal to become a unicorn. The same, I don't have any ambition to create another unicorn because for me, the most important thing is that, okay, you have your passion, you have your vision, and you go for that. And this is the main goal, not some, awards or some status of being a unicorn. So for me, it's, secondary things, not primary things.
So what is your primary thing? Is it more about helping others or creating something that can change the society, solve the problems? What is the main sort of the thing that you are trying to achieve as a success?
I would say very shortly. So it's to make a better place for the next generations to come. And then the question to me, how can I help them, the next generations? And maybe this would be my direction, I would say. How to help other generations to live happier.
And what would you advise to the person who is now maybe have a business idea or passion to change something and to create something new and just starting? What would you advise to that person? Because I guess it's always a difficult start.
I would say done is better than perfect. So done, because always we postpone many things because, I still haven't finished this or I still don't have this. And, we always think about many reasons because we want to make everything perfect. But usually, there's no perfect in real life. So I would say done is better than perfect. So it means that it's iterate, do something, and then you're going to do at least something. Because then we launched Vinted. I think it was also a very good example. We didn't think about how to make perfect website, and we wanted just to launch and just to see how it goes. So I think that it helped us a lot.
And I always ask this question. So what is your personal dream for Lithuania in upcoming decades?
Well, it seems very easy question, but on the same, it's not that easy question. But I would dream about generation, society that is free to think, free to create, diverse, and is free to create. Free in their mindset. And I think because at the moment what they see the direction in our country, so it's more about how to stop, not to let people do something and just, you cannot do this, you cannot do this. And I always believe in opposite thing, just give freedom about the actions, and because only mistakes might help you to learn what does mean responsibility. And the more responsible people we have, the more matured and more successful society going to be. So that would be my dream, I guess.
For sure. Freedom comes with responsibility. Thank you so much for sharing your vision for the future with our listeners. And I hope it inspires more people to create things that will pave the way for the new generations. Thank you so much for joining us today.